Welcome to Conversations That Matter. I am Ron Gray, and I have some great ladies on the show today. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to make some introductions to you, but these folks are really making a difference in our community. And we've titled our show today "Beyond the Mask: How a Mask Project in a Pandemic Became More." And that's what I want to talk about today with you guys. First, I've got Sandy Shafer with us.
Hello, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being part of this. Former city council here in Lexington and mask maker extraordinaire. We've got a great story for Sandy to share with us. And we have Catherine Kamei. Thank you for being on today, Catherine.
My pleasure.
Catherine's an actress from LA, but back to Lexington a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, that's right.
We'll get more into your background in here in a few minutes. And last but not least, my dear friend, Denise Finley. We go way back in the political circles, right? Not too many years, but I feel like we've become old friends fast. So thank you for being part of this. All you guys are doing some great work around creating masks for this horrific coronavirus pandemic we're in the middle of. And when I heard your stories, I thought, I've been on a bit of a sabbatical from Conversations That Matter. And I thought, what better way to kind of kick things back off with talking about community and service, especially in the climate we're sort of living in today, political and cultural climate with such division across the country. So much has been politicized about the coronavirus and everything beyond that. So to kind of have a conversation about doing something outside ourselves and very meaningful for our community was really important to me. And this is really more than the mask. I think it's more about service and community, and you guys are making a big difference. So I want to kind of go around the room and introduce you guys. I want you to tell us a little bit about you and how you first was inspired to kind of get started making masks. And we'll get more into who you're partnering with and who you're working with and where your masks are going and the tons and tons of masks that are being made. I think you guys, looks like our technical support is telling me that I'm echoing, so I probably need to turn my volume down a little bit. Not sure else to fix that, but we'll try that. You guys are probably into the near 30,000 mask mark between the three of you, which is remarkable. And they're going from all over the country to even internationally. So it's so impressive. Catherine, let's start with you. Tell us about you, who you are, how you got involved with this, and about your mask project.
Sure. Well, I mean, when it comes to masks, I'm really just a regular citizen. My background is that I'm an actor, and separately, I have a totally different career in strategic consulting. So I've been in corporate strategy most of my career, so I have a lot of experience managing projects, and that's one of the things I think I thought I'd bring to the table. So how I got involved in masks, I think like a lot of people at the beginning of the pandemic who don't work in healthcare, I was sitting there watching the horrific stories of what was happening, especially happening in Italy, where we saw the healthcare systems getting overwhelmed, having discussions about rationing healthcare, knowing that it was coming to the US, it was already here, and that we were going to experience something of it. And being somebody that doesn't work in healthcare, I felt utterly helpless how to help the people that were on the front lines battling this virus. And the moment that I saw the cries for personal protective equipment that started coming onto the news, nurses and doctors saying, we have nothing, we have shortages, we are, grabbing a bandana from home, I thought, this is something I can do. And that's where the name of our group, the Superhero Mask Project, came from, is I thought, these are the superheroes. These are the people that are going out there, putting their lives on the line so fearlessly, so much courage. And what can we do as citizens to get behind them?
Yeah, that's huge. And I have a healthcare background myself. I don't work in the clinical world anymore, but I used to be an ER nurse. And a lot of my friends are still in the healthcare community. They're frontline workers, they're RNs, they're nurse practitioners, they're PAs, they're physicians. And I was worried and I was scared for them. I still am, but more so in the beginning because we didn't know much about the coronavirus. We hadn't had a pandemic in 100 years. So that was really concerning to me. And to see folks like you guys step in when you're not even related to the healthcare industry directly and to make such a big difference. In the beginning, when I heard your stories, I thought you're just making masks for your friends and family, community, but you guys have sent masks to hospitals, to long-term care facilities, to military overseas. This is a big deal. A big deal.
It certainly became a bigger deal than I ever thought, and it's gone on a lot longer than I thought. I mean, I
can say that's
that
true.
at any moment the sort of supply chain would kick in and that we would become obsolete within a month or two. And
Right.
The need has really grown because we started with healthcare workers, speaking specifically about the Superhero Mask Project, but very quickly it became clear that we're needed by first responders, that we were needed by senior centers, that now children have become a major focus as they head back to school. Yeah. So it certainly has become bigger and much longer lasting than I ever would have anticipated.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue into Denise, because Denise is a former and current educator. She is a retired school teacher from Fayette County and still subs. I don't know if you're able to do that now, Denise, with our new back to school plan, but talk a little bit about your program and who you've worked with, where you've sent your mask, and also your daughter is an educator. She's an administrator at a local school here in town in Lexington, and how you guys have teamed up to help her kids and other schools.
So first of all, I thank you for doing this. And how I got started was my niece was in a nursing home. She's a speech pathologist, and she was given an N95 mask and told that she would have in a brown bag, and she was going to have to keep that clean for a long time. And it was not common of what they were supposed to be doing. So she got very anxious, and I could sew, and I used to sew long time ago. And I got put in, one of my friends, Lucy, put out on social media, "Who can sew? We need you immediately." So we were all commenting, and I got thrown into all kinds of different groups. I got thrown into these two ladies' groups. So I actually have used their patterns to help her secure her N95 on her face. And then I would send her one and say, "Does this work? What can we do?" Because she needed to keep that N95 clean. So I wanted to make enough for her so that she, didn't get sick herself. So what happened was when I sent that, it just kept ballooning and getting bigger and bigger. And we sent a friend of mine, actually Travis Brenda, he's a house rep in Frankfurt, helped me actually send probably 40 masks to her nursing home in Indianapolis. So then that stemmed from, I was in another Facebook group that was Sew for Nurses, and I got hooked into Lincoln Hospital and St. Sinai that is in the Bronx and in New York City. And they did not have the proper head equipment. And so I started making scrub caps according to what they wanted, because they were finding that the virus, they felt were getting in their hair. So I got started doing that while juggling trying to do the masks. So those have been sent to New York City. They've been sent to Michigan. They've been sent to Florida in a drive-up testing site. And I'm on my third shipment of those in addition to these other masks. But getting back to the face masks, when people found out I could sew, people are and this is, I think, is very important that people need to know. People are very private about their compromised immune system, knowing that I'm a person, if you tell me something in confidence, I will not tell it. And they were in a frantic panic about their own health. So some people I knew, some people I didn't, asked me to make them a face mask for themselves because they had lupus, they had MS, and they don't want to, that's not something that they really want a lot of people to know. Well, I was stunned how many people had a compromised immune system when I started. So I've never gotten to contribute to Catherine and Sandy because my requests just kept ballooning. And so mine are basically people I don't know. I get a text or I get a Facebook message. I hear you are doing scrub caps. But getting back to Catherine and Sandy, and I made that one for Ron. He wanted a superhero.
Spider-Man.
He wanted one. So we were in a little bit of a lull in the two groups that these ladies are in that they'll both talk about. But my daughter we were talking about school starting, and she's in a Title I school, and I've taught almost 4 decades in a Title I school. And I knew that many of our students only had one mask. And there's no way that they were going to be able to keep those masks clean. So we were in not a lull because we've been busy, but I'm in those groups. And I said, Andrea, you may want to get in this group and request face masks because with school starting, I know what's going to happen. We're going to balloon again, and we need to start moving in that direction if we're going to open school safely. So she got in and she wrote a beautiful post. I was real proud of her, and Catherine responded and Sandy responded. Sandy's got ties to Picadone. We all have ties that we had. And so within hours, Catherine and Sandy were able to pull something together for them. And so that's how I've gotten to, connect. And then another thing that happened was we needed something donated, and Ron Gray's name popped up in one of the groups. And I sent him a text. I said, Ron, you're needed. We need a donation from you. So that's how that was.
Well, It's an honor to be part of this in any small way. Mm-hmm. And that brings us to Sandy. Right. Sandy, I absolutely loved the story I heard about you connecting with women in our corrections facilities here in town in Lexington. Tell us what those ladies are doing for your project, So Mask. And I love your motto. It's
not hard, Ron. It's Lex, build it together.
Let's build it together. Yeah, I love that. It just really epitomizes what you guys are doing as far as community. Tell us about your project and how you got connected with the correctional facilities and those women there that are giving back to the community.
Well, my thought, anytime the crime rate surges during this economic crisis, and the low earners find themselves kind of in peril. And then when you have both your health and your finances gone, then, survival comes in and desperation comes in. And so I have a background in civic service. And I know that going to the jail and being a part of that environment, during times you can find weapons depending on the climate, to either protect yourself or hurt others, or during drugs, you can find like the haves and have-nots. But, during COVID, we have found that in order to feel safe, you need to have adequate resources. So I reached out to our mayor here in Lexington, who I know. I texted Linda and said, Linda, we have to do something for our first responders. And she's like, well, I'm not real sure. Check with our commissioner. So I did. And right off the bat, he said, we need 2,000. And I mean, I know we've got 500 police, 500, it's like, oh my. So I knew that maybe corrections would be an opportunity. So I went and talked to the director there, and I found a little major there named Stephanie, and she's been my godsend. I told her today I was going to mention her. So Stephanie, if you're listening, your ears are burning if they're not. But anyway, she has been so good. There have been 11 ladies that have been sewing. As an example, I picked up 400 masks today. They were made in the last 6 days, thanks to the donations of Superhero, to the My Blanket Buddies in Georgetown, and my So Mask group have made so many. They've reached out and helped people who who need to feel that help as well as be a part of the solution.
Mhm.
And when I spoke to Stephanie today, she goes, Sandy, those ladies, they are proud of what they're doing.
Mhm.
They feel good about helping the children. They want to help them. And she said, there are some new people coming in because people get dismissed. Yay.
Mhm.
And so they are teaching their counterparts how to sew. And some of the ladies have never sewn. And let me just tell you an added benefit, Ron, with the serger that we have and our new now alliance with my blanket buddies in Georgetown, they're going to make quilts when this is over.
Oh.
We'll be making quilts for children. We'll hook them up with maybe some of the group homes that we're affiliated with or the Nest. But we have created something that is going to go, it's going to go beyond us.
I love that. And there's a connection we can make beyond this, Sandy. Again, beyond the mask, right? Because I can't think of a better way to for humanity to be connected, from folks like you guys to women that may have made mistakes and found themselves incarcerated.
Could have been me.
Yeah. It could have been me to come back and say, look, I want to make a difference in my own community, even in the place where they are now. It's remarkable. And you're talking about making quilts. I'm part of a children's charity. My family and I started in 2011 called the Toy Chest Children's Charity. And long story short, we've gotten really good at Christmas time, so we focus on what we're good at. We're an all-volunteer organization, and part of what we do is buy new toys, new clothes, books, etc. for kids at Christmas time. We do about 500 plus kids a year, but sometimes throughout the year, we give these welcome bags to kids at domestic violence shelters. We've got about, 15, 16 around the state, and in those bags are blankets.
Sweet.
So,
well, we want to partner with you because I feel this is going to be ongoing. And going back to the mayor, she used her social media to blast out. I wasn't really ready for that either.
Yeah.
With her 2,000 requests and then the media blast. And so I reached out to Catherine because I was just one little person and my group was really more focused on medical, and I wanted to do first responders. So I used Catherine's group, and it was an immediate alliance. And I appreciate you, Catherine, just going, sure, come on in.
How many masks have you?
Like, okay, this is what I need.
How many masks has your group made, Sandy?
Over 10,000.
That's phenomenal in such a little time. Catherine, I know the Super Mask Hero Group or Superhero Mask Group. Have you hit the 10,000, 11,000 mark?
Not well. Yes and no. That we can account for. We're almost at 9,000, but we have a lot of our members that are donating locally. I'm sure we are over 10,000.
Yes, we
one of the things, as Sandy mentioned, is that we're also doing as best we can to support wherever we can. We're trying to, kind of as a strategy project manager background. That's one of the things that we provide a lot of support to the corrections group, saying, okay, well, they've got the hands. Let's get them the materials. You were kind enough to donate a machine, a serger. So that's, I think our impact is probably larger, but our count is around 9,000.
Yeah, that's great. And you, Catherine, you've partnered with several organizations too. Are there ways, I know communicating with each of you prior to our talk today, we talked about what you need from the community to support your ongoing projects. You can take financial support, you can take supplies. Talk to me about each of you. Catherine, if people wanted to make a donation, a financial donation, or they wanted to bring you supplies, how could we connect you with our listeners to support the project that you're working on?
Thanks, Ron. Well, first of all, we would be so appreciative. I did want to say one thing. When we're talking about 10,000 masks and 9,000 masks, and sorry, Denise, I don't know what the count is, but these masks take a half an hour to an hour each from a sewist.
Yes.
There are only a limited number of people in this world that still sew. So it also takes an entire village around these people to deliver, to prepare fabric, to donate materials. And that is one of the things that all of us are doing, are creating that village to lift up these people who can sew, and so that they can be as productive as they can be. So in terms of what we need, donations for supplies are always helpful. Almost all the sewists have long since used their stashes. We now provide supplies so that they can keep going. And people can make donations by, well, I'll share my information. I know Sandy has some as well, and maybe Denise. But if you just put in the search bar on Facebook, the Superhero Mask Project, you will find our group, and you can make a post, and we have a link where people can make a charitable donation. But we very wonderfully got a generous donation of $5,000 from the Children's Charity of the Bluegrass. That charity has donated, I think, in the neighborhood of $13 or $14 million over the past 40 years throughout Kentucky to children's charities, and were kind enough to take us on and give us $5,000. So our most important need is that we need to reach out to anybody who can still sew. Our volunteers have been at this for a very long time. They need some reinforcements. They need a break. So if you sew, and you don't have to be a great sewist, just casual sewist, we will give you all the information you need. I want to just share this. We will give you a free kit that has fabric, thread, elastic, every single thing that you need. Please jump in and help. And if you know somebody, perhaps an elderly relative that isn't on social media or isn't really technology savvy, and you can just help them by printing out the pattern and bringing them the supplies, please enlist anybody that you know. That is our number one constraint, because it is it's a dying art, sewing. Yeah.
That's great. I lost my mom about 3 years ago, but man, she loved to sew. If she was here, she'd be right in this with you guys. She loved it. She had a Singer sewing machine, and there were stacks and stacks of fabric in our laundry room growing up. She was always making her own clothes. Yeah. Sandy, talk about what people can do to support you. I know, I think you mentioned seamstress as well. How can people get in touch with you if they want to make a financial donation, drop off supplies, or become part of your sewing team?
You know, since we partner so closely with Superheroes, the donations can go through her, because she's a nonprofit and you can get a deduction from that.
Okay.
I just use my email, and what I really need is hands-on. I need people that wash and iron.
Okay.
There's a lot of fabric that I can wash and iron. And Catherine and I have formed an alliance where she's going to provide all the fixings, because we have the fabric.
Okay.
So she'll provide the fixings, which is the beads and the rope, the cord that goes around your ear. So she is going to provide that for the ladies who are there. The ladies at the jail sew from 7:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. They are sewing they are the machines for us. And we got donations of the machines. And the first machine I got was an old machine. I thought, oh my gosh, we got it fixed. It was in a case. And the story came back to me that when I rolled it in, one of the ladies started to cry, because she said, oh, it's just like my granny's. I'm going to sew on that machine. So because of the desire to change these ladies, I want to make them successful. And so getting the needed materials is so paramount for me. And we do have, our mask group only has 180 people. We're very small.
Not very many.
And I guess, Catherine, you know, you're in 1,000 something. So we are just very small, but we're effective. And so if I can just have people wash and iron right now, because I have a lot of fabric coming my way. And we've donated toys as well to the Methodist home and to Sunrise, which is the Baptist home. And so not only have we done masks, we've donated toys and materials. So we try to support each of these groups in their needs.
Great. That's great.
Again.
What about your network, Denise? What kind of support do the folks you're working with need?
Well, I am fine. I just don't, I think that people that, I have another friend that helps me create the scrub caps. But what I want to say is, you know, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman and our First Lady Brittany Brashear I think, picked up on what was, I'm going to assume, what was going on here in Lexington. So they have made a call as well for people that can donate. face masks to different schools. I think that I just told Maya to sew some student masks that I used to teach with her. And I said, donate it to the family resource at Tates Creek Elementary, because that's where she and I taught. I think if people can sew, and they may not be on social media to know, like I followed Catherine and said, it's incredible what I have been observing. And that's when Ron and I talked, I said, this has kept me going through the pandemic, because my husband and I have been home since March, and the positive energy kept me mentally healthy, because we had a purpose of what to do, and I wasn't focused on staying closed in. But I kept knowing to open school safely, we needed to have these face masks for these children that may only have one. So I think if they can donate them to the family resource centers of the different Title I schools first, that would be helpful, because we know that's already happened with my grandchildren. The masks break and they need another one. And if we can provide that, then the other costs that come into a school will not be spent on face masks. It'll be spent on instructional materials. Now that we're going virtual, they are needing Chromebooks. They are needing earbuds. They are needing things that we've not had in the classroom before. So I've been thinking about, of course, that end of what's happening. But I do want to tell a little story. One of my new friends that I met in a different type of grassroots organization I've been working on tutors children every day, a Hispanic family, at 3:00. And so she found out that I was sewing masks. And so she said, would you mind making a mask for my little girl? I don't think they have enough. And if there's broken English in the home. And I said, sure. So in talking with her, I don't know a lot about the virus, but I know you're only as safe as the people that you're around. So I said, does she have any siblings? And she said, yes, she has an older brother and an older sister. So she said, and then she, being a teacher herself, a retired teacher, she told me that the little girl liked popsicles, and the older sister liked pink and purple, and the older brother liked a sports team that was royal blue and gold. So I started sewing. What's easier to make the same mask 3 or 4 or 5 times than it is to make those individual. I just cut enough for them to have a week, 5 days each. So when I finished, I told her, I said, what are the parents in the home? Because we need to make them safe too. So she told me, she said it's a mom and a stepdad, and then another father that are very involved with the children. So I made them all masks, and it was no big deal. So I put them each in a pencil box, simply because I wanted them separated. So I put the masks in each pencil box that was clear. So when my friend picked them up, she got real emotional. She's like, I can't believe you made these for the family. And I said, well, we're only as safe as the people we're around. She told me that when she gave them to the little girls, they decorated their little pencil box, and it's such a treasure to them. And they're so excited about going back to school to be able to wear their new masks. So, you do something and you don't think anything about it. You just kind of do it. And then you come back and it makes my heart big. And it has made me feel the positive energy that Catherine and Sandy have stepped into. I'm just this little person in my own little world sewing, but it has helped my mental health, because I'm just doing it to keep Lexington. We're only as healthy as the people in our city and our state.
Right. So
I just wanted to do my part, and to know that our Lieutenant Governor and our First Lady are promoting this to provide, face masks for our schools is important as well for everybody.
Well, I think there's no better representation of community than projects like this. And like we've talked, this will go way beyond the mask for a long time. And I hope there's a point where we can retire our mask. But I think it's going to be a while. Yeah. I think there's probably going to be an ongoing need for this. So to get that kind of support for you guys, people who can sew for you and wash and dry and iron and get these things ready, I'll put out to my network and share with my friends and ask if people will step up and give you support. I'm going to give Catherine's email address out. It's superheromask2020@gmail.com. and maybe you guys can just coordinate with Catherine if you have any time that you can volunteer for these ladies, or any resources that you can offer. Shoot Catherine a message at superheromask2020@gmail.com. Catherine, tell me, what does this project overall mean to you beyond the mask?
I mean, it's hard to answer because it's become like an extension of myself. Like, it's my arm now. But, you know, I moved to Lexington 3 years ago. I'm not from Lexington. My husband is not from Lexington. We have many friends here. But we, you know, upended our life in Los Angeles. We wanted a more wholesome place to raise our child, and we chose Lexington because it was Mayberry. You know, it was this beautiful place to live. And for me, it has, on a very personal level, to see the community around envelop me and everyone else with so much love and so much support, and people have jumped in to help in whatever way they are capable of, whether it be financially or driving supplies back and forth or sewing if they can. For me, it has been such an affirmation of the place that I chose to live and to raise my child.
That validation is important. It's a great place. I'm born and raised not in Lexington, but in Winchester. But Lexington's been my home since college. And if you have the privilege to travel around the world and experience new places, it's such an honor. But I always love coming back home.
It's a special place.
It is. It really is. And there's truly a sense of community here. You guys do not have to be doing what you're doing. But we really would not expect anything less than a group of powerful women to be doing this. And it's a real honor to get to share this with you. Sandy, you've been around Lexington for a long time. You've been part of leadership in Lexington, formally and informally. So many people have suffered during this pandemic, whether it be sickness. I know people who've had COVID. I know people who've been hospitalized that I'm close to. Loss of family and friends to death. A lot of financial loss. Livelihoods have been turned upside down. What gives you hope that tomorrow will be a better day?
We always have hope. Sometimes that's all we have. Mm-hmm. But, you know, community is all the people all the time. All the people all the time. And sometimes
I love that.
You have to learn to love and appreciate the downtrodden. That's not always easy.
Yeah.
And we let things kind of get in front of us. We just have to back up and just know that we are all the people all the time. Nothing short of that.
I'm going to borrow that. I love that.
You need to put that on one of your little things, Ron.
I will. I'll give the credit to Sandy, but
let's build it together.
I love that too.
Together.
All the people, all the time.
Place. So I so am happy that Pickett kind of was the cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Well, and my daughter is. It's been wonderful watching my daughter. I'll get emotional watching my daughter just, you know, do what I loved. I taught at one school for 25 of my 37 years, and it's incredible the people that work in a building like that. They don't do it for praise. There's so many things, and I'm jumping in. I'm sorry, Sandy.
No, I would be saying the same thing.
Yeah, they jump in and they don't expect the news to know what they're doing. They don't expect any accolades at all. And right now, and I want to tell you, both of you ladies, that Andrea told me today, because I had her sons today while she was getting things together, the staff came in and you all had provided masks not only for the children, but for the teachers and the support staff. And they got to pick which ones they wanted, and they're saving the other ones. But they've been getting ready they're going to do an open house, I think, Friday, Sandy, because Sandy was saying that her children and grandchildren, she helped build the playground at Pick a Dome. So we're all ingrained in this community. We're connected. But Andrea, watching my daughter, my mother was into community service too. So to watch it go down to my children and to see that need of the heart that like Catherine and Sandy and Ron and the people we all run around with have is amazing. And they are trying to do something with opening schools that is incredibly big. There's no textbook about this. They don't exactly know the safest way, but they're trying. And she stepped right into Catherine's group and she told her exactly the sizes. And so I just knew that that would be the model of what we needed to do for all of the schools. So I am proud of her, and she loves Picadome, Sandy. She loves the kids.
I love that.
I sub for my daughter at that school, and I already told her I'm going to sub again as soon as it calms down a little bit. And her child is in Woodford County. Her own son's in Woodford County, but she teaches in Fayette. So I'm kind of have to be flexible about what we're doing, because she's got the schedule may be different, but
I sub too. I know what that's about.
in a different way through Picadome.
That's so good. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't want Picadome to come by without mentioning, if you don't mind, Ron, that all of the masks for every student and staff member was provided by a wonderful female-owned business in Louisville called Pink Tag Boutique. They sponsored the Superhero Mask Project for 2 weeks with a buy one, donate one mask in their boutique. And they said, we don't know how many we'll end up with. And then they called at the end of the 2 weeks and said, we have 800 masks. And I was like,
I don't get 800 masks.
800 masks. So we've sold 800 masks. We're giving you 800 masks. And I said, perfect. We've got a school. We can cover the entire thing. So I do want to acknowledge them. Pink Tag has also gone on to help 2 other entire schools. So they have just been wonderful. And if you need to buy a mask, it's a great place to check out. They're so cute what they sell.
That's great. Pink Tag Boutique in Louisville.
Sandy brought over extra ones too, because so it was a wonderful collaboration. And the Pink Tag Boutique is like Catherine said, is a small business. So she did the buy one get one free, and we were all buying. So
isn't it great how community always comes full circle?
Yeah.
We've got the lifeblood of our economic system, our small businesses. Mm-hmm. And for us to be able to support Pink Tag, and then they turn around and support community and connect you guys, it's a full circle. And that's it just goes back to Sandy and her definition of community, all the people, all the time. I love that. I do know that you partnered with a couple of other small businesses, Catherine, where folks can drop off supplies if you need that. You want to mention them?
Sure. So we're partnered with the Kentucky Castle and East End Tap and Table, which is a fantastic restaurant downtown, right across the street from Carson's. And
in Lexington.
In Lexington. Sorry, both in Lexington. So people can drop off supplies there, drop off finished masks. Those are 2 drop points with us, and both those businesses have been fantastic and so supportive of us.
Okay, great. And if we have any listeners out there, or 1, 2, 3 persons removed from any listeners that are small business owners and can find a way to turn this project into something at their business, like the Pink Tag Boutique did, that'd be a great opportunity to come full circle in community as well. Yeah. And if anybody out there is connected to me, we have an office here in Lexington. We're not working out of the office every day, but we can be a resource and a drop off too. They can just contact me directly, and I can get with Denise or yourself and get those things over to you. But I want to wrap things up in just a couple of minutes. But I want to go around the room and just ask each of you to define in just a couple of words what community means to you. We've talked a lot about that today, and clearly Sandy has the best definition of that I've ever heard. But what does it mean to you and your circle of friends? Catherine?
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, go ahead, Sandy.
I have a history of service in the community, and the one thing that I've always gone to is the Lex Build It Together, because we have to do it together. And with the Lex in front of it, it's Lexington or Let's. It's whatever you want to put there. But Lex Build It Together, because shoulder to shoulder with someone, you get to know them, you get to work with them. They can be totally different than you, which we all are. But when you work with somebody shoulder to shoulder and you get dirty with them, then you are doing it together. And that's so important. So let's build it together, and all the people all the time.
I love that. It's harder to reject people when you know something about them too, isn't it?
When you're shoulder to shoulder and they have a name,
Yeah.
and they're not just something.
Yeah.
But when they have a name, somebody that you know, yes, Ron, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Denise?
Sandy has done such a beautiful job, and Catherine has. The only thing I can add is, and it's not really community. Community is that all I ever knew most of my life was teaching, and when I decided to retire, I was lost because I really didn't know my purpose in life and what to do. And all of the things that have happened in my life since then, the last 3 years, and how I got to meet Ron Gray and some other people, has been organic. And I now have a totally different community that's somewhat connected to my professional life, but it's also grown into friendship. And I laugh because the people that I've met the last 3 years since I've retired, in the different grassroots efforts and movements I've been in, I've said often, will be my friends. While what Sandy just said, you're shoulder to shoulder doing some hard stuff, they're going to be my friends until I take this last breath of my life. Yeah. And I thought when I retired, most of my friends were, still teaching, and we're busy. But I have an education group of community, but I never had time to have friends outside of my professional career. But now I have met so many incredible friends with things like what we're doing. Like when we were texting back and forth to set this up, I was like, well, I want to go out to dinner with Catherine and Ron, but we have to stay apart so we can get back together. So yeah. I'm excited that we're able to work on something all around, but we're not right there. So that community is everything. You don't feel alone, even though we're apart from one another.
Yeah, that's great. Catherine?
Well, I've spent most of my life since I was a child being an actor. Most of my adult life as a professional actor. And I think it's perhaps a bit misunderstood from the outside, but it is the art of empathy. It is an art form that is inherently based in empathy. I spend every single day of my life as part of my work just imagining what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes and to try to remove all judgment, to get in touch deeply with the idea that we all have very similar fears and hopes and dreams and desire for love and connection and acceptance. And that is what brings us together more than all of our differences. And so to me, community is really that sense of seeing that there's less space between us than we might have ever imagined.
Well, it's powerful that you say that, because as Denise knows, she and I have talked about this so many times, and she so eloquently and oftentimes reminds me of why I started Conversations That Matter. And it is really built around that we have more in common than we have different. And I think there's probably not a time in any of our lives that's probably more important for us to recognize our commonality than now. With the political climate and the healthcare crisis in our country and around the world. It's that commonality that binds us together and brings us together as community. And I think there's no better representation of doing that than what you guys are doing with making masks and keeping people safe and healthy. No doubt you have saved lives. Absolutely, no doubt. And I've got my Spider-Man mask to prove it.
And I pray over every one of my masks and mask scrub cups that I make.
I received that, and I have a backup one too. So I've got two Spider-Man masks. But it's been a real honor to talk about this with you guys. If our listeners want to go to conversationsthatmatter.co, you can link to me. I can connect you with any of these ladies. Catherine's email address again is superheromask2020@gmail.com, and I'll put up all your contact information on our Facebook page as well. And There is no doubt that beyond the mask, I think our paths will probably cross in the future, and I'm excited about that. So until then, I want to thank you guys for your service to our community and sharing your story with me and Conversations That Matter. And I can't wait to see what happens beyond the mask.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. All right, take care.
Take care, Denise.